There's a moment in every life, every team, every relationship. When we discover a truth, we usually learn the hard way. Alone, we can only make progress. But together, we can make history. The world is moving fast, faster than any one person can keep up with. And the danger isn't that we're not smart enough or strong enough. The danger is believing we have to carry everything alone. Right now, as you listen to this, someone out there is waiting to support you, challenge you, lift you, and walk beside you. Right now, someone's strength could fill your weakness, and your courage could strengthen theirs. But these moments only happen when we choose collaboration over isolation, unity over pride, and partnership over independence. This is not a someday decision. This is a right now decision. Because the future will not belong to the lone wolves. It will belong to the people who understand that together is not just better. Together is unstoppable. The myth of the lone warrior has convinced far too many men that strength is measured by how much they can endure without help. From a young age, men are taught that vulnerability is weakness, that asking for support is failure, that real men carry their burdens in silence. This silent script pushes them into emotional isolation, not because they lack courage, but because they fear disappointing the expectations placed on them. And yet the very thing they avoid, connection, is what would make them stronger. The pressure to be unshakable often becomes the cage that keeps men from becoming their fullest selves. Men don't stay silent because they have nothing to say. They stay silent because they believe no one will understand, or worse, that sharing their struggle somehow diminishes their worth. But the truth is that strength is not the absence of struggle. Strength is the willingness to admit that we are human, that even the strongest man carries a weight he cannot lift alone. And when a man dares to open up, he discovers that the world doesn't see him as weaker. People finally see him as real. The reality that women see in men tells a story men often overlook. Women notice the battles men never talk about, the ones hidden behind responsibility, ambition, and quiet exhaustion. They see how men push themselves to appear reliable, capable, and invulnerable. And while women admire a man's resilience, they also feel the distance created when he refuses to let them in. What many men don't realize is that women don't want a perfect warrior. They want a present partner. One who understands that partnership is built on honesty, not invincibility. The truth that men discover through genuine connection is that they were never meant to walk alone. When a man shares his thoughts, fears, or frustrations with another man, it doesn't make him less masculine. It makes him understood. When he opens up to a woman, it doesn't burden her. It includes her. And when he lets himself lean on a team, he doesn't lose independence. He gains allies. Every great achievement, every great movement, every great legacy was built by men who rejected the myth of the lone warrior and embraced the power of standing with others. The shift from isolation to connection begins the moment a man realizes that his worth was never meant to be proven alone. Strength begins where ego ends, because the ego is the shield men often carry to protect themselves from the fear of being seen. Many men grow up believing they must always appear certain, competent, and in control, even when they are overwhelmed inside. The ego convinces them that admitting uncertainty is the same as admitting inadequacy. But behind that armor is a man who is simply trying to prove he is enough, even though he has never been allowed to question what enough truly means. And the moment he lowers that shield, even slightly, is the moment real strength starts to emerge. Letting go of ego becomes transformative when a man realizes how much energy he has spent pretending he has everything figured out. Men often overextend themselves because the ego whispers that asking for help makes them smaller, that accepting guidance means losing authority. Yet every man reaches a point where pretending becomes heavier than the actual problem. When he chooses humility over performance, he stops fighting to protect an image and starts fighting for genuine progress. That shift doesn't weaken him, it frees him. The way women experience men's ego adds a layer most men never see. Women can sense when a man is acting out of pride rather than confidence, when he is pushing people away, not because he wants distance, but because he fears being exposed. They notice the moments he avoids vulnerability, not knowing that these moments create emotional walls that prevent connection. Women don't want a man who never falters. They want a man who can let his guard down without feeling threatened. Ego may impress from a distance, but authenticity invites them in. The impact of releasing ego becomes especially clear when men allow themselves to see how deeply others want to support them. When a man stops competing with everyone, including himself, he becomes more open to learning, growing, and partnering. Other men stop viewing him as a rival and begin to see him as someone they can trust. Women stop feeling shut out and begin to feel included. People naturally bond with those who choose openness over pride, intention over image, and honesty over performance. True strength reveals itself the moment a man realizes he doesn't need to win every battle alone. Your circle determines your rise because every man becomes a reflection of the people he chooses to keep close. Men often underestimate how deeply they absorb the attitudes, standards, and expectations of those around them. When a man surrounds himself with individuals who think small, doubt everything, or fear change, he unconsciously begins to shrink himself to fit that environment. But when he places himself among people who aim higher, challenge him, and believe in what he can become, he starts to rise simply because rising becomes the norm. The company you keep is not a casual choice. It is the architecture of your future. The influence of a strong circle becomes even more evident when a man recognizes how his motivation is shaped by those who stand beside him. Men often push harder, stay disciplined longer, and dream bigger when they are part of a group that values growth. The right men in your corner will call you out when you are slipping, remind you of your purpose when you forget, and refuse to let you settle for a version of yourself that is smaller than your potential. The wrong circle, however, will celebrate your distractions, justify your excuses, and keep you anchored to a level you were meant to outgrow. Every man's rise or fall is tied to the direction his circle is pulling him. The way women observe a man's circle reveals truths men sometimes refuse to see. Women can instantly feel whether the people around a man elevate him or drain him. They notice when his friends encourage responsibility, ambition, and emotional maturity, or when they reinforce recklessness, avoidance, and ego-driven behavior. Women often see potential in a man that his own circle fails to nurture. They understand that a man's environment influences not only his decisions, but also his identity, confidence, and capacity for partnership. A woman can love a man deeply, but even she cannot elevate him if he refuses to leave circles that stunt his growth. The rise a man experiences is accelerated when he intentionally surrounds himself with people who expect more from him than he currently expects from himself. When he chooses friends who push him forward rather than hold him back, he discovers a version of himself he didn't know existed. He becomes more accountable, more disciplined, and more resilient simply because he no longer walks alone. Others lift him when he is low, guide him when he is lost, and challenge him when he is tempted to settle. In the end, a man's circle becomes the invisible force that determines how high he climbs and how far he goes. Shared struggles build unbreakable bonds because nothing connects people more deeply than the moments they refuse to give up on each other. Men are often conditioned to confront their challenges alone, believing that carrying the full weight of their problems is a sign of strength. But the truth is that men feel most understood when someone stands beside them in the trenches, not when they are applauded from a distance. When two people endure the same pressure, pain, or uncertainty together, trust forms not through words, but through resilience, through the simple, profound fact that both stayed when leaving would have been easier. The power of shared struggle becomes clearer when men recognize how rare it is for them to open the door to real companionship. Men bond not by talking about emotions, but by going through something, building something, fixing something, surviving something. Those experiences create a type of loyalty that doesn't need to be spoken because it has already been proven. When men face adversity together, they stop evaluating each other by status or bravado and begin seeing each other's character. They learn who shows up, who stays steady, and who can be trusted when masks fall and challenges rise. That kind of connection cannot be faked or manufactured. It must be earned. The way women interpret shared struggles offers a perspective that men rarely consider. Women notice the depth of connection a man forms with those who stand with him during difficult times, and they can see how these bonds change him. They understand that when a man feels supported, he becomes more open, more present, and more emotionally available. Women are drawn to men who have experienced genuine brotherhood because those men have learned that vulnerability is not a threat, it's a bridge. They sense when a man has people he can rely on, and they know that this emotional safety shapes how he loves, how he communicates, and how he handles the storms of life. The transformation that happens through shared struggle becomes a foundation for everything a man builds afterward. When he has stood shoulder to shoulder with someone through hardship, he no longer fears leaning on others or inviting them into his world. He learns that connection is not a liability, but a lifeline. He becomes more confident in collaboration, more willing to trust, and more prepared to lead because he understands the quiet strength that comes from surviving something together. And as he continues to face new battles, he carries with him the certainty that he doesn't have to win them alone. Collaboration turns effort into impact, because effort alone, no matter how intense, cannot create the kind of change that only unity can deliver. Men are often taught to power through challenges by sheer force, relying only on their own will, discipline, and endurance. This mindset convinces them that success is a solo climb, and that asking for support somehow reduces the value of their achievement. But effort without collaboration is like pushing a boulder uphill with no one to steady it. It may eventually move, but it will cost far more energy than necessary and still fall short of its full potential. Impact is born not just from strength, but from shared strength. The reality that effort multiplies when combined with others becomes clear the moment a man recognizes how much faster he grows when he stops trying to prove himself and starts trying to build with others. Men thrive in environments where their skills complement someone else's, where their weaknesses are balanced by another's strengths, and where their ideas are sharpened through honest dialogue. But too often, pride blocks this process. Men avoid collaboration because they fear losing control or diluting their identity. Yet the greatest breakthroughs, professionally, personally, emotionally, happen when they finally realize they don't need to be everything, they just need to be part of something. The way women interpret collaboration reveals truths many men overlook. Women often see the strength in partnerships sooner than men do. They recognize that a man who collaborates is not less capable. He is more secure, more adaptable, and more emotionally intelligent. Women notice how a man interacts within a team, how he receives guidance, how he supports others, and how he handles shared responsibility. To them, collaboration signals maturity, stability, and humility, qualities that make a man not only more effective in the world, but more trustworthy in a relationship. A man who collaborates well is a man who understands that love, like leadership, is co-created. The transformation that collaboration creates in a man becomes evident when he experiences how much more meaningful his contributions become when others amplify them. When he works with people who believe in the same mission, his effort stops being a personal struggle and becomes collective momentum. He begins to understand that he doesn't have to carry every burden alone, nor does he have to solve every problem by himself. He learns that when he joins forces, whether with a friend, a partner, a team, or a community, his influence expands far beyond what he could have imagined on his own. He starts to see that impact isn't measured by how hard he works, but by how effectively he works with others. And that collaboration is the bridge between trying hard and achieving something that truly matters. The future rewards the connected, not the isolated, because the world is shifting from a place that values individual dominance to one that values collective intelligence. Men who cling to isolation often do so because they believe independence equals strength, and relying on others somehow diminishes their capability. Yet the future is being shaped by networks, communities, and partnerships, by people who know how to build bridges instead of walls. A man standing alone may move fast for a moment, but a man who is connected moves farther, more sustainably, and with far greater purpose. The next chapter of society doesn't belong to the lone hero, it belongs to the connected leader. The trap of isolation becomes painfully clear when men realize how much they miss by staying in their own heads and their own patterns. Men tend to withdraw when they're stressed, overwhelmed, or unsure, believing that solving everything quietly makes them responsible. But isolation doesn't sharpen them, it blinds them. The future is too complex, too fast, and too unpredictable for any man to navigate alone. The world now rewards collaboration, emotional intelligence, and adaptability, all qualities that grow only through interaction. The more connected a man becomes, the more perspectives he gains, and the more equipped he is to face the challenges ahead. The way women view a man's level of connection brings a dimension men rarely think about. Women notice when a man lives in isolation, not just physically, but emotionally. They see the way he shuts down, the way he carries burdens without sharing them, and the way he convinces himself he must remain strong at all times. To women, isolation is not a sign of strength. It's a sign of unresolved weight. They feel the distance it creates, the unspoken fears, and the pressure that comes from being shut out. Women are naturally drawn to men who are capable of connection, not because they want control, but because they understand that healthy relationships are built through openness, communication, and shared experience. The reward of connection becomes undeniable when men experience how much more confidently they walk through life with a strong network behind them. Men evolve when they have mentors who guide them, friends who challenge them, and partners who believe in them. They grow faster when they allow others to reflect their blind spots and highlight their strengths. They become better thinkers when they welcome ideas that are not their own. Connection doesn't weaken a man's identity. It strengthens it by grounding him in relationships that amplify his purpose. In a connected world, success is no longer about who can stand alone the longest. It's about who can stand together the most effectively. The shift toward connection becomes essential, as the world increasingly favors those who know how to build teams, create trust, and collaborate across differences. A man who learns to connect can lead in ways that isolated men cannot, because leadership itself is an act of relationship. And as the future continues to accelerate, the men who thrive will be those who understand that power comes not from guarding oneself, but from opening oneself to the people and possibilities around them.